Hello, welcome, gorgeous beings of light. This is Elmara coming to you with miracle number 96 in our 100 Miracles in 100 Days project. Just take a big breath in, as big as you can, in through the nose, letting it out through the mouth with a bit of a sigh. Letting go of everything that's outside this moment. Bring your awareness back into this very moment. And just to change things up again, because we're at miracle number 96, I'm just going to get you to connect to the fifth dimension first and see if that makes a difference to the first step of the fifth dimension, because this is a bit of a woo-woo, weird kind of miracle, and it might just challenge a few of you. So I'd like you to be connected so you can breathe and see how powerful it is when you do that. So just breathe in for me now. Bring your awareness into your hands as you breathe out. See if you can feel the energy as you're breathing in and breathing out, coming down into your hands. And on your next breath in, I want you to breathe in. Point your fingers to the sun above, whether it's nighttime or not. Breathe out and tie the energy from your fingertips around the sun. Breathe in. Draw all that gorgeous source light from the sun down. Bring your hands down with it. Breathe that energy out into all your 100 trillion cells and your 100 trillion telomeres, and take the last 5% of that energy down and into the core of Mother Earth. And here I am pointing my hands down at Earth and tying that energy around Earth. Breathe in now and bring us a big handful of Earth energy with all the minerals and nutrients. Everything you need to sustain your physical life here on Earth. Up. Breathe it out into your body. Take the last 5% up to the sun. And we're just going to do this several times. Breathe in. Draw the energy down from the sun. Breathe it out into your body. Take the last 5% down into Earth. You'll find if you move your hands up and down, it's easier to get your mind out the way. Breathe in. Draw the energy from Earth up. Scoop it up. Breathe it out into your body. I bring my hands up the front of my chakras as I'm doing that. Take the last 5% up to the sun. Breathe in. Source light from the sun. Straight down into your crown. Breathe out. The last 5% down into Earth. Breathe in. Bring Earth energy up. Breathe out into your body. Take the last 5% up to the sun. Breathe in. Breathe out into Earth. Breathe Earth energy up. And breathe out. Take the last 5% up. Just continue that breath now while I tell you miracle number 96, which is a bit of an interesting miracle. Another weird one that comes from the cemetery. You can see why I left them all to the last. If I'd given you all these in the beginning, you may have taken off because they're a bit out there. But this is what happens when you work with the afterlife or to the energy, and it also proves that our lives are eternal. The reason there's so many miracles that happen in the cemetery, because I did that for 7 or 8 years. I was a gatekeeper. But I've chosen the one I chose yesterday to show you what the power from the other side can do when you connect into it, like being able to lift a huge marble cross when I was incapable of lifting it prior to getting help from spirit. And today's miracle is about how what we believe while we're here on Earth carries over into the afterlife, and why it's so important that you keep your thinking or your thoughts clear. So as I've mentioned before, I used to walk around. They used to all come over to my house and it got too noisy. Then on my days off on Tuesday and Thursdays, I would go to the cemetery, walk around, collect all the people that wanted to go home, meet on the top of the hill where this almost like a house bloomin' headstone was, and there's chairs around it. We'd sit there, and I'd sit there and take all these beings home. It was a beautiful view of Brisbane City from there. And one time when I was walking around, I went past, and I don't know which religion it's. I think it's either the Seventh-day Adventists or the Jehovah's Witnesses. But one of them believe in life. One of their spiritual or religious beliefs were that when you passed away, that you would be in the ground for 7 years, and then Jehovah, I don't know if it was Jehovah or Jesus or God, was coming to get just you, just these particular people that were this religion. I have a feeling it's the Jehovah's Witnesses, although I'm not sure. But they would be coming to only get you, and that's why people stayed being a Jehovah's all their life. And obviously they were witnessing all of these people going home when they were at the top end of it was a huge cemetery. It's the biggest cemetery in Brisbane. They were at the top end that was closest to Mount Cootha. And as I walked past, I heard or felt or sensed that one of these religious group of people were decided that they would like to go home, and they start following me. They start following me. And I hear the chorus of the rest of the religious people buried in that area that are still stuck there, waiting for Jehovah to come and get them for 7 years. And they're like, don't do it, she's evil. She'll be sending you to the devil. Remember, same thoughts you had when you were alive, you carry them over when you die. And they went, our 7 years is nearly up, or whatever it was. And I looked at the headstone from where all the noise was coming from, and they'd been buried in the late 1800s, you know. So 7 years had well and truly gone up. And the reason that that happens is, remember, time and space is only something that exists on Earth. When you cross over, there is no time and space. And that's why people who commit suicide end up getting stuck, because they miss the real time when they're supposed to go home. And there's no time and space. So they can be like the story about the butcher's suicide in Tilba, where he had been gone for over 100 years and his spirit was still hanging around. That's why he's back in the tin for me to take him home. If you want to go back and find that, it's a pretty good miracle of how I got him home. Well, I didn't actually, my dad took him home. But so there's no time and space once you pass away, because that's a human thing. And so when they cross over, 100 years can just feel like they were saying, oh, 7 years is nearly up. And their headstone said they died in 1896 or some bloody thing, 1897. And I just turned back and said to them, you know, like, that's just a belief system that has you stuck here instead of home with God. I'm like, oh, you know, she's lying. I went, what year do you think it is? What year do you think it is? I said, it's the year 2003 or whatever it was, 2002. And they were like, you're lying. I said, I tell you what, I'm going to buy a newspaper before I come, whatever the next day was, Tuesday or Thursday, and I'm just going to leave it here for you. And so the next time I went walking around the cemetery to collect people, I did go buy a newspaper that had the date on it. And probably one of the few times I've bought a newspaper in my life. The only other time would have been if I was looking for a job or somewhere to live, but you can do all that online now. But back 25 years ago, for all you young'uns, the way you did that was to buy a newspaper. And I bought the newspaper, and on the grave where all the noise was coming from, I put a stone, put the newspaper down on the headstone, and I put a stone on top of the newspaper so they could see, they could hear, I could hear all this gasping when I did it. The next time when I went, so it must have been a Thursday because it was more than just 2 days later, so the next time to Tuesday is about another, 5 days later. When the next time I went round, the newspaper's gone. That's not to say that somebody wasn't walking around the cemetery and decided to pick it up and read it, but the newspaper wasn't there, and I didn't see any remnants of the paper having been blown away or something. But I also never from that point on did that little pocket up the top corner there where they all were. I never ever heard anything from them ever again. And I can't remember now whether that particular person was coming, because I don't, when I'm taking them home, I don't sit there and go, what religion are you? What do you believe? Have you been a good person? That's not how it works. If they're ready to go home, then I just was taking their spirit home. It was a long, involved process until I took the 1,075 souls home when my father passed away. And then the process changed from just a quick breath, but before that, it was a 2 to 3 minute process, and there was always about 20 or 30 people that wanted to go home, so it would take me about an hour or so to take these 20 people home, you know. So, and I'm just connecting into source and taking them home, and so their name is not really relevant. It's more that it's the spirit that I was taking home. As I said, I haven't done this work since my father passed away in 2000 and whenever it was. Well, actually, I still did the work for a long time. I just handed it over to my father in, I don't know, 2010, 2012 or something, because I needed to move on and do some other things. So, just breathe for me, please. And I know that's a bit to take in, but the moral of this story is simply to tell you how important it is that even as we, not necessarily to have positive thinking, but to just be mindful of what you're thinking, that we are such infinitely powerful beings that what we think is what we create. So if you think that when you pass away, God or Jehovah or whoever is coming to get you after 7 years, that's what you're going to continue believing, whether it's true or not. And that's why the whole thing about heaven and hell, like if you believe in a hell, that's what happens to you. And especially if you think that you've sinned, that's what happens to you. You end up sitting there. You don't go home when the light comes for you because you're scared you're going to a hell that doesn't really exist. And then you get stuck in the ether and you can't go home to some bug like me who knows how to open up the gates to heaven, or has someone on the other side like my dad that can help you get home. You get stuck without a body, and that to me is what hell is, because your soul isn't growing and doing anything more. So just be really mindful of what you're thinking about. Just ask yourself, is this true, or is this something that has been taught to me by well-meaning people sometimes? I always say that if my father got into heaven, anyone can get in, because he was a bit of a tiger. Mind you, I did all that work to get him back into his soul, to get him home. But he went home directly, despite all the shitty things he'd done as a dad. He went home directly because God doesn't have any judgment. Yes, he had to do some penance, and I think he's still doing some of those things. Not penance, but he had some learning to do before he came back down. But he definitely got there because I don't believe in hell. I believe that's a man-made construct from religion to control you, to have you give them all your money on Sunday, etc., etc. So just breathe for me, please. I know that's a lot to take in, but we're nearly at the end of my 100 miracles in 100 days, and I really wanted to get that one in so that you know what you think. And that's applicable whether you're dying or not, whether you're going to pass over. Everything that you create in your life is as a result of you being an infinitely powerful being who creates their own reality. It's a bit scary, isn't it? But still. Just breathe for me, please. Quickly want to remind you, if you would like to know how to connect more into the infinite, eternal, rich, abundant, gorgeous, gorgeous, sexy, radiant, powerful, beyond measure being of light you already are, and work in a place of miracle consciousness, which really isn't really, it's really just who you are, but we have to give it a name because so few people know about it. Then we will be starting that training in April with a small group of people, and you will become a powerful fifth dimension activator and healer. And if you'd like to do that and be part of it, please contact me through my website and let's have a chat about that. You'll learn lots. You'll learn the 5 steps. That step that I gave you is just the first step of the 5th dimension that lines up all your meridian lines. But we'll do how to cleanse your auras and chakras and all of that cool stuff. Crystals, healing, beings, starseed, activate your starseed, origins and all of that wonderful stuff. So I'm just going to give you a 40-second blast of pure source light and keep this as a quickie today. Trusting you're having a fabulous, fabulous day or evening. Okay, you gorgeous beings alike, that's us done for another day. Sending you so much love, and I look forward to being with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.